Good afternoon, welcome to VANIK-IAS. We will discuss current affair of 23rd May. First we will discuss some objective questions, then some prelim facts, then one mains topic. So first is, consider the following statements. Drought in Numbers 2022 report was launched by Integrated Dryland Development Program. It's wrong. It is launched by UNCCD, right? United Nations. So this statement is wrong. It is launched by UNCCD, right? The theme of 15th Conference of Parties COP15 was Land, Life, Legacy from Scarcity to Prosperity. Yes, this was the recently the 15th Conference of Parties is undergoing, and this theme is Land, Life, Legacy from Scarcity to Prosperity. This is the theme of COP25, that is of UNCCD. Okay, so two only statement is the right answer. Next, Denisovans, recently seen in the news. Denisovans, who are Denisovans? They are archaic humans. Archaic human means they are regarded as one of the cousin of human being, right? Cousin of human being means they are yes, Neanderthal, they are similar type Neanderthal human being, right? The so it is, their remains are found in that is in Tibet region. So archaic humans, they are archaic humans, not Denisovans. Archaic humans around 1,60,000 years ago they were existed, archaic humans. Okay. Recently, which organization released World Inequality Report 2022? World Inequality Report was launched by World Inequality Lab. World Inequality Lab, it releases World Inequality Report. It says that the national income of top 1% of Indian nationals is much more than the national income of top 50%, right? So this report is launched by World Inequality Lab. Regarding inequality, also you can see Oxfam always release inequality report, right? It says that 50 top it says that 1% of the top 1% have 56% of our national income, right? That is according to Oxfam report. So regarding inequality, two organizations, it is Oxfam and World Inequality Lab, they release World Inequality Report, right? This World Inequality Report basically released by World Inequality Lab, and also Inequality Report was also another report that is launched by Oxfam. Especially inequality report are based on, for example, based on gender, based on inter-regional, inter-country inequality, right? Inter-country inequality, that means the inequality between rich and poor. All these things are highlighted. They are increasing because of the existing structure of capitalism. Capitalism structure is such like that inequality will increase, right? It will give high amount of growth, but inequality among the society will increase. Okay. In the context of national biofuel policy 2018, consider the following statements. The government amended the provision of the policy to increase the target of ethanol blending in petrol to 30% by 2025 from 20%. No, this is wrong, right? This is not increased to 30%. It is increased to 20%. 20% from 10%. Earlier the target was 10%. It is increased to 20%, and the target was reduced from 2030. Earlier the target was by 2030 there will be 20% ethanol blending. Now it has reduced that by 2030 there will be by 2025. By 2025, 20% of ethanol blending will be done, right? Ethanol is a biofuel, right? Biofuel, right? And biofuel are, it is there are four types of biofuel. One is fast generation biofuel, is your fast generation biofuel. They are made up of food crops. Remember, food crops, that is sugarcane molasses or your sugar or the after decomposition of some food items, first generation biofuel. Then second generation biofuel, they are made up of non-food crops, right? Second generation biofuel. Third generation biofuel are made up of algae. These are third generation biofuel. Fourth generation biofuel are made up of GM crops, genetically modified crops. They are fourth generation biofuel, right? So ethanol is one type of biofuel. It is environmentally, it releases less carbon as compared to the conventional fuel, and the government is targeting 20% of ethanol blending by 2025. Presently it is 10% of ethanol blending. They will increase to 20%. So first statement is wrong, obviously. Second is that the new amendment will result in increased burden on the forest reserve. Why? If we increase the biofuel, then what will happen? If we increase the biofuel, then our import will reduce. If our import will reduce, that will give boost to our foreign exchange, because we will not use foreign exchange. So second statement, it will wrong. It will be good for storing of foreign exchange, because our majority of our imports are petroleum products. As we reduce the petroleum products import by 20%, that will significantly save our foreign currency, our dollars, right? So both the statements are wrong here, so far as ethanol is concerned, right? Okay. Next, with reference to filament barb, consider the following statements. It is a common fish found in inhabiting whole array of habitats. Yes, especially in southern India it is found, right? In southern India it is found, right? It is widely distributed across peninsular India, across Kaveri and Krishna river. Yes, it is right. Both the statements are right, right? Experimentally it is found that this filament barb, it is a fish. Remember, it is a fish. Their cultivation can be easier by experimental methods. By various methods, their cultivation can be multiple, and that is a fish. So both the statements are right. It's a common fish. Okay, C is the answer. Examine the following statement about International Methane Commission Observatory. International Methane Commission Observatory. It is launched by United Nations Program UNEP with support from European Union. Yes, it is launched by in support of European Union, right? Okay. It will focus on methane emissions from major emitting sectors like agriculture and waste only. So whenever you see only, then general statements are wrong. It will focus on agriculture, that is right. It will waste, that is right. It will also focus on petroleum products that releases methane. Petroleum products, primarily it will focus on petroleum products which releases methane, and it is also will focus on agriculture and waste. So second statement is wrong. If second statement is wrong, obviously option 1 is eliminated, option 2 is eliminated, and C is eliminated. Only 1 and 3 options are right. If so, it will also monitor the commitment made by the countries in the global methane pledge. Yes, global methane pledge. It will also monitor the commitments, right? Methane, remember, methane is a potential greenhouse gas. There emerges from burning of petroleum products, and also there emerge from agricultural fields. And whenever there is decomposition of any biological materials, then methane emerges out of that, right? For example, in agricultural fields, whenever any marshy land, methane is generated after the decomposition of the plants. So D is the answer. 1 and 3 is the answer. They are launched by UNEP with support from European Union, and also they will monitor the commitments made by global methane pledge, and they will focus on methane emission from petroleum products, agriculture, and other wastes. Okay. Consider question number 7. Which of the following statements? Survey of India is functions under Ministry of Arts Science. No, it is functioning under Ministry of Science and Technology. Ministry of Science and Technology. It is functioning under Ministry of Science and Technology. It is the oldest department of government. The primary responsibility of Survey of India is to maintain topographical map coverage on various scales like 1:250K, 1:50K, and yes, 2. So 2 only is the answer, right? 2 only is the answer. A report called Banking on Electric Vehicles in India, released recently by which of the following? Banking on electric vehicles. Niti Aayog, Rocky Mountain Institute, RMI and RMI India. Yes, jointly or by all of the D is the answer. Niti Aayog and Rocky Mountain Institution and RMI India, jointly by all of the above. They are reporting electric vehicles of India, banking on electric vehicles of India. They are recommending that the priority sector, RBI should include electric vehicles in priority sector. Priority sector of bank. Priority sector means in priority sector are like, for example, agriculture, there is education. Bank must give their loan 40% of the loan in priority sectors, right? So electric vehicle, if that will include, what will happen? Then those who are working in the electric vehicle, they can it will help manufacturing of electric vehicle. So this banking on electric vehicle of India, it has recommended to include priority sector electric vehicle as priority sector by the RBI. It is jointly by Niti Aayog, Rocky Mountain of India, Institution of India and RMI India. Okay. Then consider the following statements with respect to Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. The amendment makes foreign migrants of 6 religious community from Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan. Yes, it is right. Right, 6 religious community. Who are the 6 religious community? Then there is Sikh. Then except Muslims, Buddhist, Jains, right, and Christians, Hindus, and Zoroastrians or Parsis, right. These community who are religiously persecuted in our surrounding countries like Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan, they will be given citizenship, right? If they have completed 6 years of natural citizenship. Earlier that was 12 years. They are given a concession of 6 years, right? It has no relations with citizenship of Indian people. It excluded Indian Muslims. That's why it is criticized by a certain section of the intellectuals that it violates the fundamental right under Article 14 and 15 on equality before the law, and the state is discriminating on the basis of religion. This is certain intellectuals says that. But as they are persecuted on the basis of religion in the surrounding countries, especially where that's why they are given citizenship, given some even facilities regarding citizenship. That is reducing the 6 years, reducing the 12-year naturalized citizenship requirement to 6 years, right? That is those who have applied for naturalized, who are staying in India before 2014, they can get the citizenship. It does not apply to 6 scheduled areas of the constitution. No, it applies 6 scheduled areas of the constitution, right? So there is some issues with respect to that. So it's wrong and this is right. One only is the answer. Right? One only is the answer. Next. Consider the following statements with reference to Census 2021, Census 2011. See, Census 2011. A person aged 12 and above who can read and write and understanding any language is treated as literate. See, according to, if this with reference had it is not mentioned, then its statement would have been right. As it is mentioned explicitly, this Census 2011, it is clearly mentioned that the person whose age is 7. So here the age is given 7, not 12. And the above who can read and write and understanding any language treated as literate. Right. See this, even if you don't know about Census 2011, see this 12 can never be considered, because the primary education will be completed by 11. Primary education. So after even completing the primary education, if a person will not be considered as literate, then that is violating the logic. So statement 1 is always wrong. It can never happen. 12. So 7. Our age is 7. In class 1, generally person goes to school in class 1. sorry, in age 6. So age 7 is taken as the language. A person who can read and write any one language can be considered as literate. A person who can only read but cannot write is not literate. Yes, this is also right. So first statement is wrong and second statement is right. So 2 only is the answer. A person, both they have to read and write and understand one particular language to be considered as literate, right? Important facts for prelim. So we will discuss some important facts from prelim briefly. Canary Caves, right? What is Canary Caves? Recently, Union Minister for Tourism inaugurated a group of tourist amenities at Canary Caves. Canary Caves, some tourist amenities are inaugurated. Canary Caves is ancient inscription, literally means black mountain. We have black mountain and they are literally inscription, ancient inscription called as Black Mountain, that are Canary Caves. Location of Canary Caves, it is a group of caves and rock cut monuments in the forest of Sanjay Gandhi National Park in Mumbai. In the forest of Sanjay Gandhi National Park in Mumbai, Canary Caves are there, right? Group of caves and rock cut monuments, Canary Caves. It is present in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, Mumbai. There are group of caves and rock cut monuments, right? It is also meaning is Black Mountain. Some people call it is Black Mountain. The establishment was also connected with many trade centers such as ports of Sopara, Kalyan, Nasik and Paithan, Ujjain. There are ports of Sopara, Kalyan, Nasik, Paithan and Ujjain. These are the ports that nearer to Canary Caves. They contain Buddhist sculptures of relief carving, painting, inscription dating from 1st century to 10th century CE. 1st century to 10th century CE, Buddhist sculptures are also present there. Most of the caves are Buddhist viharas, meaning to living, studying and meditating. Buddhist viharas. There are Buddhist and Chaityas and viharas. You know, in Buddhism, Chaityas are the prayer halls and Buddhism are the, and viharas are those where a monk is expected to live and read and meditate. Buddhist viharas. So there is Buddhist sculptures. There is, that is called as a Black Mountain. There is a group of caves. There are rock cut monuments. They are presented in the Sanjay Gandhi National Park of Mumbai. There are various ports as well. So this is Canary Caves. Okay. Sanjay Gandhi National Park. It is a protected. It is area of Mumbai. Protected area of Mumbai. The park is also home to small population of leopards. Leopards are seen there. The Karvi shrub is also locally called, only blooms once in 8 years in a mass flowering covering the forest. Lavender blush. The Karvi shrub is also seen in Karvi. Karvi shrub is also there, right? Next is, what is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework? Next prelim fact is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. United States President Joe Biden embarked on an East Asia trip that will see him to touch down first Seoul and Tokyo. Seoul is South Korea and Tokyo, Japan on Sunday ahead of the May 24 Quad Summit. He is expected to launch his administration's much discussed Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework in the Japanese capital along with Prime Minister Kishida Fumio. Joe Biden will launch it, that is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Why? Especially to develop a good relationship in the Indo-Pacific. Now the world politics is centered around Indo-Pacific, that is the cooperation between USA and India has increased and Japan and Australia is also increased to enhance the maritime security in the Indo-Pacific to counter the aggressiveness of China. There is also Quad Summit they have established. There is also issues regarding the insecurity is increased when China developed a relationship signed agreement with Solomon Islands that are present just above the Australia, right, near the Indo-Pacific, which is very crucial regarding the security of Indo-Pacific. So Indo-Pacific economic framework is going to be launched by Joe Biden with the Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio. According to an insight paper on IPEF put out the US Congressional Research Service in February, the IPEF is not traditional trade agreement. Rather, it would include different modules covering fair and resilient trade, supply chain resilience, infrastructure and decarbonization, tax and anti-corruption. IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. This will put out US Congressional Research Service in February. The IPEF is not traditional trade agreement. It will include different modules. That is fair and resilient trade, supply chain resilience, infrastructure, decarbonization and tax and anti-corruption. Especially that will focus on the Indo-Pacific area, especially providing security to the trade vessels. The countries would have to sign up to all the components with a module, but do not have to participate in all modules. They have to sign to all the components within a module, but they do not have to participate in all modules that are present in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which is going to be launched by Joe Biden and the Japanese Prime Minister. The fair and resilient trade module will be led by US trade representative and include digital labor, environment issues and some binding commitments. The IPF will not include market access commitments such as lowering tariff barriers, as agreement is more administrative arrangement and congressional approval. So basically it is more an administrative arrangement and it will ensure fair and resilient trade module, right? Okay. IPF is also seen means by which US is trying to regain the credibility in the region. To regain the credibility in the region, because it is said that US is losing its hegemony in international affairs, right? It has been a hegemon since after the Second World War, but it according to hegemony theory, every country, the hegemony stands up to only 100 years, right? More than 100 years hegemony do not stand. So US is also in international affairs, the hegemony of US is declining. There is rise of China and India, especially the BRICS country, and even the down of eastern Europe because of the financial crisis that is ongoing in European Union and Brexit and various developments that sees that low growth in the European countries. Now the world politics is becoming Asia centric, or to regain the hegemony, it is saying that Indo-Pacific rather than the West, right? So US is said that regain to credibility in the region, and former President Donald Trump pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. You know that Donald Trump pulled out from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. India came out of RCEP. Since then there has been concern over the absence of credible US economic and trade strategy to counter China's economic influence in the region, right? During the period of Donald Trump, it has been seen that the nationalization has increased, right? National interest has increased, and there is a backlash against globalization, and there is protectionism developed in the US strategy of economy, right? Protectionism developed in the means that countering the various regulations regarding Eastern visa and immigration policies, and also there is trade war between China and US. There is also Indian GSP commitment that has also reduced, right? India is doing under GSP. It has increased. Donald Trump has increased the tariffs. So by various means, it is Donald Trump government was enhancing the protectionism method, and that was a backlash against globalization. As it was the leader of globalization, it is said that it itself should not promote the protectionism. But after the Joe Biden government, now there is certain changes in the economic policies of the US, and they are again trying to counter the China's economic influence in the region, because China is heavily investing in various countries. Even those countries who are opposing China in the South China Sea, those island nations, and every nation, China has a policy of debt trap policy, and by its investment in OBOR, One Belt One Road policy, China has developing relationship and developing its hegemony in that region. It is a region, becoming a regional hegemon by investing a huge amount of money by providing loans to the small countries. China is an influential member of TPP and has sought membership of a successor agreement. Comprehensive, it is a member of TPP, influential member of Trans-Pacific Partnership, and has sought the membership of its successor agreement, that is Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement or Trans-Pacific Partnership. It is also in 14-member Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. India came out of RCEP. So now China is a member of the 14-member RCEP, also is a member of TPP, where USA is not a member. India from RCEP. The Biden administration projecting IPEF as a new US vehicle for re-engagement with East Asia and Southeast Asia. Right. So to strengthen the relationship between Indo-Pacific region, especially the East Asia and Southeast Asia, US has developed a relationship with and started to launch economic partnership with the Indo-Pacific region, that is IPEF. Japan has welcomed the IPEF and Thailand announced earlier to join the negotiations. Right? Why Japan? Because Japan has animosity with China. Although there is huge economic relationship, still Japan do not have any good relationship with China because there is a dispute in South China Sea. Also, Australia and New Zealand may join. Thailand has also announced to earlier join. Australia and New Zealand may join. South Korea, Philippines, Singapore have expressed their cautious interest because there is investment from China and also there is a dispute in South China Sea. China has huge clout in that region so far as economic investment is concerned. So they will cautiously they will join it. Why India didn't join in RCEP? Because RCEP didn't obey the Indian conditions. The trade gap between India and in the trade graph between trade deficit will increase between India and China if hard India join RCEP. The Biden is expected to invite India to join negotiation for the RPEF when he meets the Prime Minister on the sidelines of the Quad Summit. India is the only member of the grouping that has said nothing about it. Right? India has not said anything about IPEF. Then Biden is expected to invite India to join the IPEF. Right? Okay. India is yet to decide on the proposal. Right? It will basically decide its trade interest, whether it's domestic agriculture or domestic women in the dairy sector, they will get affected by it, or India it will be help because India's stronghold in service sector, whether they are liberalizing the service sector or not. All these things will be taken into consideration, and whether our trade deficit will increase or our trade surplus will increase, that is the cause of concern. On those basis, negotiations will going on, and what are the key areas that need to be liberalized on because by this IPEF that need to be taken into concerns, because by these various organizations and there is a many times many countries, especially the developing countries, they suffer a lot and they suffer the problem of trade deficit. Like Sri Lanka has undergone recently, it has lost almost all its foreign exchanges. So we must engage in those countries where we will have trade surplus, not trade deficit, and especially those who will make the trade rules according to us, where services will be equally liberalized as the goods. But the problem is that India is a service sector, China is a manufacturing sector, and all these countries who have developed manufacturing sector, they are focusing on liberalization of goods rather than the services. Okay, some areas, yes, one more thing can be done, one more thing, that is those areas where there is no conflict among the countries, right? In certain areas, if there is no conflict in those areas, then that can be passed as an those areas can be liberalized, right? And India may join those areas. And those areas where there is issues, they may be discussed later. Some areas proposed in the IPEF do not appear to serve India's interest. For example, IPEF talks about digital governance, but IPEF formulation contains issues that directly conflict with India's stand on the position. Amongst all these prohibition, restriction and cross-border data flows, especially yes, India is prohibiting the cross-border data flows. If you are making some digitalization, you must store the data inside India, because if the data flows outside India, then that will hamper the India's interest. That will save our political, and that will democracy will be in danger, because by digitalization, by use of data, they will save our behavior by social media, and then they will impact our Indian elections. That's why India is strongly restricting regarding cross-border data flows, and it has also similarly it has banned various Chinese applications because they are misusing Indian data, right? So IPF, there is issues regarding data localization, that is called as data localization, including financial services, the prohibition of levying in custom duties on digital products distributed electronically, promotion of the interoperability of privacy rules. Yes, privacy is a fundamental right declared in K. Puttaswamy judgment, and it is coming under Article 21, that is protection of life and personal liberty. Related enforcement regimes such as APC cross-border privacy rules while respecting US federal and state privacy laws and regulations. So the privacy laws need to be respected of all these countries because they may shape our Indian elections. How Joe Biden is countering the US baby formula shortage. Baby formula shortage, a major nationwide shortage of baby formula. US President Joe Biden invoked Korean War era law to ramp up domestic production, announced that he will be deploying commercial planes to import supplies as part of mission dubbed Operation Fly Formula. Operation Fly Formula, it is to ramp up the domestic production, right? Deploying commercial planes to import supplies in the Operation Fly Formula. Because presently there is high inflation in all the countries of food prices, that is primarily because of the supply chain breakdown in India because of the US post-pandemic economy and also US and Russia and Ukraine war and the scarcity in petroleum products. For the last few months, United States has been ripped off by shortage of baby formula, that is has left thousands of parents across the country scrambling to find product they rely on to feed their infants, right? The food product to rely on food their infants, US has been repelled by shortage of baby formula, right? The production formula has already affected the pandemic related supply chain blockages. So production formula have affected pandemic related supply chain blockages. The crisis was exacerbated when one country's biggest baby formula producers recalled its products after several baby began to falling ill, right? One of the country's biggest baby formula producers, when that they started falling ill, then it recalled the products and that led to scarcity in the baby products. What is the law regarding Joe Biden invoked to address the baby formula shortage? The Biden administration responded to the shortage by invoking the Defense Production Act, which was first implemented during the Korean War to help meet the growing demand of the defense equipment. So responded to shortage by he invoked Defense Production Act. By enacted in 1950, it allows the president to direct companies to prioritize supplying products for the nation's defense. Right, for the nation's defense, it allows the president to direct the companies to prioritize the supply products, prevents price gouging in times of shortage and inflation, and gives the president the power to incentivize the expansion of production. Right, so according to, by this, US president has the power to direct any company to prioritizing the supply of the products which are in scarcity, especially in case of inflation and war. With Joe Biden administration latest move, suppliers of key formula ingredients will have to prioritize the delivery of resources formula manufacturers. Previously, the Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump invoked the law during COVID-19 pandemic to ramp up the production of crucial medical supplies and vaccines. Right, during the COVID-19 also, the Defense Production Act was invoked. The Defense Production was invoked, and the companies are directed for production of crucial medical supplies, right? Those are very important regarding health and vaccines that need to be produced. Baby formula shortage and what is Operation Fly Formula? To speed up the import of baby formula, Biden has announced new operation that is called as Operation Fly. That means the baby formula will be imported from other countries, including the commercial, which cargo aircraft under contracts will Defense Department will authorize to fly formula supplies to meet federal standards of overseas to the US. That means that will be imported from other countries by the Defense Department. Bypassing the regular air freighting routes will speed up the importation and distribution of formula and serve an immediate support as manufacturers continue to ramp up the production. So till there is the production is not sufficient in the domestic level, up to that the defense will help regarding import of this baby formula from the overseas. What led to baby formula shortage in US? While the impact of COVID pandemic in supply chain slowed down the production of baby formula, because of COVID pandemic there is slowdown production of supply formula. The situation snowballed to a full-blown crisis when top formula manufacturer Abbott Laboratories announced that it was recalling its formula amid reports of babies falling ill after consuming powdered formula from one of its plants. Actually, this Abbott Laboratories that has taken away the baby formulas, whatever the products that are earlier they were selling, they ordered to take away from the market because some babies fall ill, and that's why there is scarcity developed in US. Abbott was one of the 4 manufacturers that together meet our 90% of US supply baby formula. So 90%, which are supplying the 90% of US baby formula, now that has recalled its products. So there is almost scarcity of around 90% of scarcity that's developed. Then in February, Abbott announced shutting down one of its manufacturing facilities in Michigan after a federal investigation was launched to assess why 4 babies who fed the formula developed bacterial infections and 2 of them whom died. So 2 babies died. That's why they announced the shutting of a manufacturing facility in Michigan. Next, states like Tennessee, Texas and Iowa are expecting shortage of more acutely. Over 50% of the product are out of stock. Low income households are being affected by disproportionately hard. Almost half of the baby formula in the US is brought under the US government program is supplemental nutrition program for women, infants and children. Awards provided around half of the babies registered under the program. So the low income households, they are suffering, right? Because there is lack of availability. How long is the baby formula shortage expected to last? Expected to last. How long it will last? Recently, US government began working closely with Abbott to reopen Michigan plant safely. According to the company, it will take more than a month before the products available once again. So for a month, they are really import from either defense to mitigate the problem. To increase the supply of baby formula in the country, FDA has introduced series of measures to make it easier for foreign baby formula manufacturers to sell their products in the US. So it has series of measures. The foreign baby formula manufacturers, they can now sell their products in the US to counter this baby formula issue. Okay. Strong bilateral ties between like-minded nations and India and Australia will remain critical to save the Indo-Pacific security architecture, analyzed in 250 words. So you may write this regarding why strong bilateral relationship between India and Australia based on Indo-Pacific. Now the world is focusing on Indo-Pacific. It is another question on the basis of Indo-Pacific. So both in case of trade, energy, mining, science and technology, security of Indo-Pacific, you may write this question, and with focusing on India and Australia relationship. Now we will discuss the main topic, that is related to disaster management. Drought in numbers in 2022. Report UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. UNCCD recently presented drought in numbers report. Remember who has launched it? UNCCD has launched drought in numbers report 2022 are the ongoing 15th conference of parties which highlighted India's vulnerability to droughts. 15th conference parties, COP15 of UNCCD. It's not your Paris climate deal, it is different than that. The report assessment analyzed droughts and their impacts livelihood over 120 years, covering 196 countries. Impacts on the livelihood of over 122 years. What are the highlighted of reports? So, India has featured the assessment as one of the severely drought impacted countries. India is one of the severely drought impacted countries. Why? One thing is that we have a huge population and our groundwater is, suppose we have 17% of world population. We have 4% of groundwater. So there is a gap of around 13% so far as groundwater supply is concerned. India, it says that India is a severely drought impacted country. Nearly 2/3 of the country suffered during drought during 2020 and 2022. Why there is droughts? In some areas there is windward side of, for example, in Telangana region, or especially those regions where monsoon wind cannot go because of the windward side. It is the opposite side of the hill, where because the monsoon wind cannot go to the other side of the western Ghat, for example, or eastern Ghat. Windward side, they are called the windward side of the monsoon wind. That leads to drought. Some areas are low, there is low rainfall. In some years there is El Nino issue. We will see various reasons why there is drought. There is also land desertification because of the high use of chemical fertilizers and unscientific agriculture. Right. Many parts of India fall under the list of regions that are vulnerable to drought globally. Because there is irrigation, lack of irrigation. Hardly 50% of our area has been irrigated. So they are primarily dependent on rain. Right. Geographically, India drought vulnerability compares with that sub-Saharan Africa. Right. Broader vulnerability, it compares the sub-Saharan Africa, that is the poorest region of the world, where malnutrited children and illiteracy has seen in highest numbers. India features on the Global Drought Vulnerability Index, which is a part of the assessment. So India is the most severe category so far as the assessment by UNCCD. Global scenario: droughts between 1998 and 2017 caused economic losses approximately of $124 billion. So that means in this last 20 years around $124 billion has been lost because of the drought. A number of duration of droughts around the world have increased by alarming 29% since 2000. Drought has increased by 29% by 2000. That means it is because there is the climate change, right? Because of climate change, we can say, or various other anthropogenic factors. Now we see the increase of drought by 29% since 2000. An entire new generation is growing up being water scarce. Right? The groundwater level is declining. There is huge amount of water uses because of high level of sanitation and man-made use, and also because of industrialization and high amount of agricultural practices. Climate change alone will cause 190 countries to experience the increase of drought exposure in the next few decades. The report notes that women and girls are emerging developing countries spend up to 40% of their caloric intake fetching water. 40% of their caloric intake is spent in fetching water. So what will happen? That is majority they are facing various repercussions like anemia and other health diseases, because huge amount of they have to work a huge amount of work for fetching water. COP15 of UNCCD, 15th Conference of Parties, currently underway Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. UNCCD 197 parties, which include 126 members as well as the European Union, are the part of the conference. The COP theme was Land Life Legacy. Land Life Legacy from Scarcity to Prosperity. Remember, Land Life Legacy from Scarcity to Prosperity is a call of action to ensure land and lifeline of this planet continues to benefit present and future generation. So there is approximately $124 billion scarcity. It has lost, amount of money is lost because of the drought, and it has increased. Drought has increased by 29% in 2000, and 40% of calorie intake lost by women due by fetching water. It is lost by UNCCD, and the theme is Land Life Legacy from Scarcity to Prosperity. Then drought, land restoration related aspects such as land rights, gender equality, youth empowerment area are top considerable in COP25. So these are the area where the COP15 focuses. That is land rights, gender equality and youth empowerment. Right? of COP25. A major point of discussion of the conference is to chalk out a plan to restore billion of hectares of degraded lands. Right, we have seen the land degradation because of unscientific agriculture and environmental activities and use of fertilizers, so that is declining. That's why we have to restore them. If we will restore them, that will help increasing the food production, and so that the other deforestation will reduce. 120 countries have placed UNCCD to achieve land degradation neutrality. 120 has placed UNCCD to achieve land degradation neutrality, right? That means the amount of land degradation will be equal to amount of land restoration. A drought is a prolonged dry period. What is drought? It is a prolonged dry period in the natural climate cycle that occur anywhere in the world. That is drought. It is a slow onset disaster characterized by lack of precipitation resulting in water shortage. Lack of precipitation. In recent decades, drought has emerged as one of the biggest drivers of human life loss and economic loss and weather-related disasters. By 2030 or in next 8 years, drought will potentially displace, estimated, it will displace around 700 million people worldwide. 700 million people worldwide will be displaced by 2030. It is expected because of drought. 700 million people will be displaced because of drought in next by 2030. So it is highly severe, and drought is especially lack of precipitation. What are the effects of increasing droughts? Environmental impacts, losses and destruction of fish and wildlife habitat. Many species dies because of drought as well. Next, lack of food and drinking water for wild animals. That's why they die. Increased stress on endangered species, even extinction. The number of species are declining. Increasing disease of wild animals because of lack of proper nutrition to wild animals. Migration in wildlife, they migrate from one area for another area. Man-animal conflict arises during the migration. Some losses their lives when they come in contact with electricity lines or railway lines. Lower water levels reservoirs like lakes, yes, the water level in the reservoirs are declining. More wildfires, that's also aggravate the degradation of our biodiversity. Wind and water erosion of soil, poor soil quality. Social impact, what is the social impact of drought? Health problems because of low water flows, poor water quality and dust. Right, when poor water quality happens, that will contain various contaminants like arsenic in the groundwater. Threat to public safety and loss of human life due to an increased number of forest and range fires, right? Threat to human life, reduced incomes, migrations, right? Human migration, reduced incomes. Most affected would be agriculture and allied industries. Agriculture and allied industries because production will reduce. Rise in prices of foodstuffs, overall inflation. If production will reduce of anything, then price will increase when demands remain same. So inflation will be there. So what is the way forward? What need to be done? Ministry of Water Resource involved in drought management, mainly policy guidelines. Ministry of Water Resources, technical and financial assistance, integrated farming systems. Integrated farming system, non-agricultural development may also consider livelihood support in poverty alleviation. Integrated farming systems, that is, for example, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, that will help in effective irrigation system, and that will reduce the water uses. Policy intervention was also going to facilitate relaxation of project clearances, funding drought-prone areas. So there should be relaxation project clearances and funding in the drought-prone areas to address the issues. Integrated Drought Management Program (IDMP) and partners have adopted 3 pillars of drought management, that is drought monitoring and early warning system to determine the drought status. For example, if there is going to be drought, then what is the need to cultivate? There will be loss. Vulnerability and impact assessment to determine who and what are the risk and why. Mitigation, drought preparedness and response to set out actions to measure, mitigate drought impacts and prepare response to drought emergencies. For example, creation of GM crops or genetically modified crops or high yield varieties, drought resistant crops that may work, and developing various ponds to like water reservoir to protect the rainwater harvesting issues. All these things can be done to avoid drought. So today's lecture complete here, and like this video, share this video, and subscribe to VANIK-IAS. Thank you.